Time for Media Watch. James is here, all set up and ready to go. James, Twitter during the Arab Spring, for example, was the voice of a repressed people,
right.
a tool of emancipation, you might say. Now, some are saying that it's a propaganda tool being misused.
That's right. It's funny to see how that line has changed about the role of social media from a year and a half ago during the Arab Spring to now, when it was, a tool to help people get their voices out there, organise and protest. And now it really has, by the IDF and Hamas, and as this headline here says quite clearly, been used as a tool of propaganda, essentially, propaganda 2.0. And the argument on each side is that if we don't use it as a tool of propaganda, the other side will. This is the IDF's Twitter page. So we have to kind of, get our message out there. But it's certainly not being used just by people on the ground, that's for sure. One of the big I suppose, social media stories of the day really was an error by the BBC's John Donnison in retweeting an image of a Syrian child who had died, and it was understood to be a Gazan child who had died. Now, I hasten to add, he retweeted that. It was quickly then taken up by sites such as this one, pro-Israeli sites called BBC Watch, who think that the BBC is not sufficiently impartial on the story, and said to be a malicious photography. So the implication being that John Donnison had on purpose put up this photo, which wasn't the case. He just had been perhaps not quite careful enough, as is often the case with social media, where fact-checking isn't part of the whole process. And he had put up that photo and then quickly apologised for it, which prompted some to tweet later on today, "Verify your images before posting. They have critical weight and mistakes will be labelled as propaganda." Now, over the bows on in the Israeli media, there was also some criticism on social media of some of their elements today. This person working for the Jerusalem Post wanted to do a story on pets who were afraid of the rockets, and was quickly picked up by some people who were saying, "Hold on a minute, why should we care about pets when people are dying?" I don't know. I mean, maybe she just wanted another angle, I'm sure. And as she said in the debate that followed, there was already somebody covering the civilian casualties for the paper, and this was their angle. There was also an article for the Jerusalem Post by the son of Ariel Sharon, which called on the Gaza Strip essentially to be razed to the ground, and a lot of criticism for that piece in the Jerusalem Post as well, but more or less saying that Gazan civilians are responsible for Hamas being in power, therefore Hiroshima tactics, why not? That's more or less what he said, which is just incredible to see something like that published in a newspaper.
Twitter has a role, certainly, as a tool of communication. Gossip, too, has a role, too. And very often Twitter is just gossip, just people's opinions, and you should take it as such and, do proper journalism before you call yourself a journalist, I suppose. That's the end fact on that one. Okay, let's turn to some French news now, where the UMP, the party of Nicolas Sarkozy, no less, is in chaos with its leadership contest. Tell us why.
These two men, there they are, François Fillon and Jean-François Copé, fighting it out. Accusations on each side that the other has messed with the numbers or in some way manipulated the vote. Jean-François Copé on the right there is the head of the UMP party at the moment, and there is accusation that he, because he's in the driving seat in terms of organising that vote, I suppose in some way, that he could perhaps have more chance to manipulate it than others. That's what François Fillon would say in any case. It's front page news all day, Mark. I have the Le Monde here from this evening. Chaos in the UMP, and they have an empty seat there. I think we can see it, an empty seat pictured in blue. In other words, we still don't know who the leader of the party is going to be. What does it remind us all of? I suppose 2008 and the socialists, right?
Indeed.
Same thing happened, which isn't very, very flattering for French democracy when their two major parties seem to be having issues on the inside. So Ségolène Royal saying, this reminds me of 2008.
Okay, the other big news story in France, and there were some spectacular pictures, of course, from this one. A protest against gay marriage produced incredible scenes.
This was Sunday. It was pretty crazy stuff in the streets of Paris on Sunday. If you were out doing your shopping, you'd kind of be a bit distracted by this. A right-wing Catholic protesting group called Civitas, they had their heavies tear gassing Femen, who were a bunch of Ukrainian feminists who decided to support the gay marriage movement by having a counter-demonstration against the anti-gay marriage demonstrators, and it led to scenes such as this: semi-naked women dressed up as nuns being tear-gassed in the streets of Paris. Pretty extraordinary stuff, and I'll show you a photo on the computer, Mark, of a close-up of one of those scenes. It doesn't reflect well, I suppose, on the anti-gay marriage lobby that you have seen such as this. Nor does it reflect well on the gay marriage lobby to have people dressing up as naked nuns. And I'll finish with this photo. Some people linking it to the UMP story saying, two daddies at the top of the UMP party. Isn't that sweet? And you had various photos such as that saying, they can't pick one, so there's two of them. Isn't that nice?
James Creighton, you've completely got me lost for words. James Creighton with Media Watch.